So I've got the blue screen and I'm casting live on my computer in front of me, which is having issues with this green screen. I'm fading in and out. And I'm broadcasting live on Instagram on my phone, which is right down here. So welcome to sending your big kids back to school live. We are broadcasting because I have some things to talk about, and this stuff is on your mind. So, what we're doing today is we're going to talk about. I'm specifically talking to you, parents in my audience, teens, young adults. If you're watching, cool, come on in. Let me know if I'm on track of what I'm going to tell your parents to do. So, here's um, here's why we're here. Back to school is on our minds. All right, back to school. August hits, heck, even July, it's like, "Oh, shop for your back to school shopping. It's time. Let's go." And it's like, we haven't even gotten into the groove of summer yet. Can you give me a minute? Yeah. I'm there. I know buying school supplies has been a thing that I've had on my to-do list since June. Last year was so cool because one of the schools my kids are in was like, just order school supplies, everything your kid will need, and it'll deliver right to their classroom on the first day of school. Boom, done. I did that in June and I was like, cool, done. I still haven't gone through my kids' supplies from last spring, so we're seeing how many folders we can reuse and notebooks that we have and things like that. Um, so yeah, back to school is on our mind. As soon as August hit for me, it was like, okay, I guess I need to like actually talk about this, especially because if you don't know me, if we have not met before, I am Sarah Deacon. I am the adulting coach and I help kids, teens, not kids, I mean, almost adults, teens, young adults figure out for themselves who they want to be when they grow up so they can have the courage to try something new and suck at it to confidently decide how they want to live their own lives instead of, just going on what somebody else is telling them to do. So they can adult successfully for themselves on their own, which is what we all want. We all want that as adults. We want that for our kids, for the teens in our lives, whether we're parents or not, whether we're coaches or teachers. We want the kids in our lives, in our circle of influence to be successful. So that's part of what I'm talking about today to my parents out in the audience. So, welcome to this little live stream series. I am going to be going live every week. If you're joining me live, drop a hello in the chat or in the comments below. If you are watching the replay, drop replay in the comments. All right, let's get started. Now, we're talking about big kids. We're talking about kids 16, 17, 18. Ooh, faded out on my green screen again. We're talking about kids 16, 17, 18, 19, 20. Kids that look like adults, and yet they are still not full grown adults. They're, I don't know, practicing adulting with a net, right? They're still at home. Maybe we're still supporting them to a pretty decent degree as parents. They look like adults, they reason like adults, they act like adults, they push us away, they set boundaries like adults, and yet they are still needing us. They need support and encouragement through their transition, especially ones back to school. Maybe you're going sending kids to college for the first time, or they are entering junior or senior year where that adulting is coming into that space. And 27-year-old, sure, 27. I was talking with people in their 50s saying, like, do you help us adult too? And yes, yes, yes to all of it, of course. So we're looking into that space, and especially like even maybe we have students who took some time off of school and are getting ready to gear up for a new semester, or they decided not to start school in this semester, just not go to college. So it looks different. We're learning as parents, we're learning how to relate to our kids as adults because it is so easy for us to just see them still as our tiny humans that we've raised for so long. So the the topic of this live right now is supporting them in this transition to the new semester. And I'm specifically talking about students or people who have been students and gearing up for the academic year. The number one thing I want to start with is, um, what's the saying? Have we heard it? I think we've heard it once or twice. You got to put your own oxygen mask on before you can help someone else with theirs. Does them no good if you are passed out. So it's an interesting place to start because my question for you parents is, are you supported? How are you supported? Because you're here because you want to support your child, your young adult, your teen student going back to school. Where we have to start is you. How are you supported? So you are taking on this new role as your kids are evolving into adults. You're switching over from that main caretaker, caregiver, doer of everything to a coach, guide, mentor, friend. And that can be really hard because there is this grieving process. Um, yeah, I'm gonna put that comment on here. Wendy says, uh, yeah, when kids are starting college, parents, the struggle is real, right? Our babies are growing up, and we are looking at a new role for ourselves in their transition. So, in order to best support your son or daughter, your child into adulthood, it takes our own work to step back and see them for who they are and who they're becoming and shift into from the caretaker role to more of the coach, mentor, guide, friend role. You'll always be the mama or the dad. They'll always be your baby, and the relationship changes at this time. So, the question for you, and if you're watching the replay, go ahead and hashtag replay when you are watching later. But if you're here with us now, what are you doing for yourself as you're getting ready to support your kids' transition back to school? So that's your first question. And as you're looking to support your student, here's another thing to think about. Are you hoping to be a support, guide, mentor, coach person? Or is your real intention to rescue them, keep them safe, control their experience, make sure that they do things a certain way or achieve a certain result that you're looking for you? And I know that can be a big question because it might not feel like you're doing that. And it's really important, like I said, we start with us as a parents, we get to model and be the example for what we want for our kids. So if you are in that good space where you're ready to support your kids and you understand that your role is changing and you're no longer in that position of having to control everything, cool. And if you're not there yet, that's okay. We can talk. We can talk offline. I'm here. I'm around. You don't have to raise your hand in the comments or do that kind of thing. So Wendy shares. Yeah. Because it can be really stressful because this might be news to you, but your kids are not going to do things the way you do them. It might be news. Maybe it's not. And that can cause stress when we feel out of control or we are afraid for them, or we can kind of, because of our experience and our more years of experience, we can see that, they're heading for not a great outcome, or maybe they're not doing things the most effective way they could be doing it. And sometimes we do just need to have to care for ourselves and let their stress be their stress and not our stress. I love that, Wendy. So next thing is, well, what are they dealing with? What is their stress? And there's a couple things that I'll touch on. I don't have a ton of I don't wanna sit around here for a ton of time. Couple things is the balancing of all the things, and they want their downtime, they wanna relax, have fun with their friends, and maybe they have sports activities, part-time jobs that are gonna be demanding their time, attention, focus. They're also concerned about the academic expectations that are coming up in the next school year, whether it's college or junior, senior year of high school. Like those classes get harder. AP classes come in, tests, SATs, ACTs, all of those things start to matter and are in the back of their mind, even if they seem like they're just relaxing on their phones, shut up in their room all day. It's in the back of their minds. And they know they need to think about the future. They don't always want to talk about their thoughts about the future because they might not know exactly where they want to go in the future, what they want to do. They might have an idea, but they don't know how it's going to play out. They might have known what they're going to do with their lives since they're 2 years old. Like there's a whole spectrum, and those decisions are coming up, and they're getting real, and they don't know. So those are some of the things that are weighing on your students and some of the things that you can help and support them with. Again, we're not talking about control or micromanaging their processes. We're talking about being there as that safety net. I like to say they're adulting with a net at this point. You're their safety net. And we'll talk about that in a couple weeks on another live. So, how do you deal with you? How do you deal with them? And what is the key to it? I'm disappearing again. Okay. I don't know. If you're watching me on Instagram, you just see the blue screen behind me. But on the other platforms, I have the virtual background and I keep like disappearing. It's kind of funny. The key to this, the big linchpin is communication. Now, if you have struggled to communicate with your teens, um, drop the eye roll emoji in the comments because that struggle is real and communication is like number one important thing. So if you struggle to communicate with your teens, drop the eye roll emoji in the chat or the comments. The chat, I just was on Zoom meeting, so it's always in the chat, in the chat. Drop the emoji in the comments if you have had communication issues. If you are a teen joining us, let me know I'm on the right track. Like drop a yes or a replay, hashtag replay, drop a yes in the chat, drop your eye roll emoji in the chat if you have trouble communicating with your parents. Now, this communication tips is directed towards parents. And again, if my younger audience members are watching, definitely let me know I'm on the right track here. Number one communication tip, get right with yourself. Like we talked about at the beginning, you got to do your work. You got to care for yourself. You got to put your oxygen mask on before you can help someone else with theirs. Can't pour from an empty cup. So you got to do your work. You got to get right with yourself. You got to come to these interactions and connection opportunities with your teen with the right heart, with the right intention of, I want to connect. I want to offer my knowledge, experience, wisdom, advice when invited. And I want to make sure that my kid knows that I am there for them. Timing and communication. Timing is everything, especially with teens and young adults. They're not always going to want to talk to you. Sometimes they need space to process, especially if big things have been happening. Test scores maybe weren't what they expected, or the stress of a higher level class or something is going on. They might not be ready to talk right in the moment of that thing happening. So be awake to the right time. Unfortunately, especially for 15, 16, 17-year-olds, the later the evening, the more open they are to talking and connecting. So if you're able to, stay up late, be present and available so that when they are ready to open up and just share something, that you're ready, and not ready with an "I told you so" or ready with a, um, thing you want to tell them, but ready to listen. So that's I think that's my number one communication tip is listen. Shut your mouth and listen to what your son or daughter, your child has to say, okay? Um, the biggest complaint I hear from teens is that parents, even coaches, counselors, other adults in their lives jump to conclusions. They finish the thought before the young person, before like someone who might be my client can finish expressing it. So your job, parents, zip it, listen. And when you've done your work and come into interactions with your son or daughter, with your child, with that right heart that I'm prepared, I'm going to withhold judgment. I'm going to be the support they need instead of the support I think they need. Then you are able to withhold that. Just listen and listen to understand. And if you don't understand, ask questions not to get the answer you think you want from them, but ask questions to understand where they're coming from. So that's the biggest thing. The other thing, a couple more, is staying consistent with them, showing up, being available when and if they are, working through something. You know them, you know what their signals are, you know when they might be feeling like they need something from you or just need your presence. So be there. Tell them you love them, stay consistent. Um, being approachable, without your own agenda, without micromanaging. Don't make every interaction with your teen or young adult some sort of reiteration of the rules or a how you failed my expectation or what you need to do going forward. Um, model for them how you want them to be in relationship, in communication, in serving others. So being the model, doing your own work. So that's what it comes down to. So that's a little bit of a summary. We talked about how are you supporting yourself to be able to support your big kids transition back to school, what they're dealing with, things like academic expectations, um, social work, sports activity, balancing of the schedules, time and attention, and they are thinking about their future, even when it looks like they're not. The key to supporting your big kids back to school transition is communication, being available, being consistent, and having done your work so that you can model for them how to process, how to make decisions, how to think, how to ask their own questions so they get their own answers. Now, that's a lot in what have we been on 20 minutes? When you need some more help with this, um, I want to make sure that you get the support. I'm going to give you my Teen Talk Tactics conversation starting guide. This is a guide for parents to, it has a whole bunch of questions in there that can start those connecting conversations where it's not pressure, it's not um, how to get your kids to do what you want them to do. It's how to connect with them and build that rapport so that when they do have those big things on their minds and they legitimately want your input, they feel safe and supported when approaching you later with that stuff. So I'm going to give that to you. I'm going to find that link. I'm going to drop it. Um, I'm live on Instagram now too on my phone. But here we go. That's sarahdeacon.com/tactics. Oh, I got a better one. Look at this one. That scrolls right at the bottom of the screen, and then I'll just keep talking. It's sarahdeacon.com/tactics, and you can download your Teen Talk Tactics parent teen conversation starting guide right at that website. It's pretty cool. I like it. I'm gonna be doing hopefully some videos, of me using some of those questions with my son, which that's a little terrifying to me because I'm like, I don't know if it's gonna be a, like, here's why I outsource my kid to other people and because he doesn't talk to me, or it's if it's actually going to be a connection thing that shows that he actually does enjoy talking to me, which he does. We have, I can tell another story another time. So go get your Teen Talk Tactics free guide to start those conversations with your teen, the young adult. And when you have any other questions, please reach out to me, sarahdeacon.com, and we can do a adult successfully strategy session with you and or your teen young adult as they prepare for the dreaded back to school. So thank you for joining me live again. If you watched the replay, drop a replay in the comments and your eye roll emoji if you've had um, some misses with your conversations with your teens. And hit me up if you have any questions that came up during this live session. Happy to answer them. I will be around in the comments later. Now, one more thing. Next week, I will also be going live again for the student side of the Big Kids Back to School live series that I'm doing all of August. So we will be on weekly. It's different days and different times. So watch your events. Follow me on social media at Sarah Deacon Coach, and make sure that you use the hashtag adulting is fun. I'm really happy that you joined me, and not going to take up any more of your fabulous Friday. Have a great day. Have a wonderful weekend, and we will see you live next week. Thank you. Bye. Ending on there.